Back in Britain after 4 weeks at sea. On board this ship are hundreds of armoured vehicles, fresh from the fight in Afghanistan. Unloading is a painstaking process. Big, tough vehicles they might be, but they're a key part of the Army's future and have to be handled with care. These vehicles were all bought specifically for the fight in Afghanistan in response to certain threats or mobility problems. But as the British mission there draws to a close, their future lies firmly here, on UK soil. Each vehicle has been painstakingly prepared for travel back to the UK. The vehicles will form the backbone of the Army of the future. Mastiffs, Ridgebacks and Wolfhounds will be used by mechanised infantry. Foxhounds will be used by light infantry. And Jackals, Coyotes and Huskies will end up with high mobility units like the Paras and Royal Marines. But first stop back home is Warminster and the Herrick exchange point. It's here that vehicles are checked and prepped for a lifetime service.
This is extremely important because all this equipment has been on operations for a number of years. And this is the one opportunity we've got to actually inspect it, account for it and prepare it fully so it's fit for use for the future, for future Army units.
Some of the soldiers unloading the ship at Marchwood are reservists about to deploy to Afghanistan, and the other end of this same process.
Including myself, there's 8 reservists that are going on ops very shortly, so they're all vehicle specialists. We're down here today to do a bit of live tasking, get some concurrency with the vehicles and equipment that we'll be playing around with out in theatre.
It's a measure of the value the Ministry of Defence places on these vehicles that the Secretary of State himself was on hand to witness their unloading. Well, I'm joined at the quayside now by Defence Secretary Philip Hammond. Mr Hammond, these vehicles and indeed getting them home represents a substantial investment, doesn't it?
They represent a huge investment, and where they are vehicles that we need in the Army's core equipment programme for the future, so long as it makes economic sense, we will clean them, bring them back, refurbish them and return them into routine service.
And how big a part can we expect vehicles like the Mastiff to play in the Army's future?
They will be a part of the armoured capability of the Army in the future. We've built up fleets of different vehicles in Afghanistan suited to different particular aspects of the operation that's taken place there. And the Army's built a plan to use as many of those vehicles as is possible in the future as part of its core activity.
Of course, there had been a hope that the Afghan National Army or Afghan National Police may benefit from some of our equipment at some point. Will we be leaving any vehicles behind for them?
We expect the vast majority of the armoured vehicles to come back and to be used in the future. If there is anything that is not fit for purpose or that we don't need, we will either destroy it or sell it or gift it.
Of course, the Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police have been taking rather high casualties recently. Is there a risk that we're withdrawing too early, that we're doing things too quickly before they are fully ready?
No, I don't think so. Remember, we've got another 15 months or so to go yet before the end of the operation. The Afghan National Army and the Afghan Uniform Police have made tremendous strides over the last 12 months. If you extrapolate that forward another 12 months, I think we're looking at an extremely competent force. And yes, they are taking significant casualties at the moment, and that's one of the issues that has to be addressed. But as their training and their level of enablers improves, we expect that to go down over the course of the next 12 months.
Just finally to the crisis in the eastern Mediterranean. We've been hearing in the last few days that Royal Air Force Typhoons have been scrambled from RAF Akrotiri to investigate Syrian planes flying nearby. Do we still perceive a threat to British interest then in Cyprus, even though we're not taking part in military action against Syria?
Well, as you say, we won't take part in any military action against Syria, but if military action takes place, then clearly tension in the area will rise. We have important assets in the area, including the sovereign bases on Cyprus, lots of military personnel and families there. It makes sense for us to have on high readiness the assets that we would need to defend ourselves if anyone were minded to attack us, and I hope the launch of Typhoons last week shows that we are ready, willing and prepared to react if there is any perceived threat to our assets in the area.
And so you're confident finally that Cyprus will be safe if it does come to military action by other parties against Syria?
Yes, I'm confident that we've got the assets in place that would deter any potential threat to Cyprus.